In a previous video, we broke down how you can integrate SmartSuite with Calendly using automation. We are making it so that when somebody schedules something in our calendar, it automatically shows up inside of our CRM that we built inside SmartSuite. This way we can track the lead and kind of nurture that relationship over time. But we didn't get through everything. All we did was make it so that when we add a new event, it shows up. But there are other actions. What happens if people cancel? What happens if people reschedule? How is all of this going to be handled in our automations? That, my friend, is exactly what we're going to be covering in this video, part 2, about integrating Calendly and SmartSuite. So if that's of interest, stick around and let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth and I'm the owner here at Gap Consulting, where it's our mission to help you to get organized and automated with no-code tools. SmartSuite is one of our favorite no-code tools, and we integrate it a lot with automation through Make, and Calendly is one of those very, very important calendar, reminder, event scheduler type of applications that you really probably should be using if you're not already, or using a variation of it. Well, in this video, as I mentioned, we're going to be breaking down the second part of this, but before we get going, I first want to invite you to join me for some free training. In this training, I've put together for you all of the basic building blocks of no-code automation so that you can start building these types of automations on your own whenever you need to, once you understand these core components. Grab that automation training for free at gapconsulting.io/webinar-registration. I'll leave links wherever you found this video. But for now, let's go ahead and hop on into the screen here and we can get going. I will include free trial links for both SmartSuite and Make so that if you're not already using these tools, you can go ahead and grab those particular affiliate links. Yes, you're going to send some love back to the channel, but you'll also get set up on free accounts, at least free trial accounts, for these different tools. All right, so our previous one looked like this. We said, look, we're watching Calendly for a new event. And if we have a new event, then we're gonna look inside of SmartSuite and see if we can find the contact person, whoever scheduled that event. If we can find them, cool. If we cannot, well then that's cool too. We still need to take a next action. So if we find them, we go up this way and we say, hey, I found the contact, so I'm gonna now create the appointment inside of SmartSuite and link it to that person that I identified in this step. On the other hand, we might go the other direction where we don't find a contact, and then in that condition, we have to first create the contact and then create the appointment and link it to the contact, right? Pretty straightforward, not too bad, but what happens when we start with the cancellations? The first thing you must know is how Calendly actually handles it when somebody reschedules or cancels an appointment. Calendly only sends two types of information out. It will only tell you through a third-party tool like Make one of two things. Either somebody scheduled an appointment or somebody canceled an appointment, which might make you wonder, well, what about reschedules? And the truth is, Calendly treats this as both events. It says somebody rescheduled. So first they canceled the previous appointment and then they scheduled a new one. So you have to understand this because when somebody reschedules through Calendly, this particular application is still going to fire because the second half of a reschedule is a new event. Somebody inviting a new event being created. So this particular portion here is going to trigger for the second half of a reschedule and for any instance where somebody schedules their first appointment. We only have to worry about canceling the appointment in our system. So whether it's a cancel or a reschedule, we still need to take some kind of action inside of our system. Now in SmartSuite, I'm going to need to drill into my appointments and I'm going to add a new status field here into my appointments so that I can track the outcome of all of these. I'll use the actual status field type. And because I already have a status field hidden inside of this table, well, I'm going to create a new one. This is going to be status for appointment. And let's play with some new status options. My default will be scheduled. So when a new appointment comes into existence, it's automatically going to be scheduled. And then we might have some other ones like canceled. And we might have completed. Let's get there. Completed. And lastly, we might have something like no-show. So whatever different status you might have, Now we also have to mark which of these will actually mean that this is complete. And in fact, it's these three. If it's canceled, completed, or if somebody doesn't show up, it still completes this event. It's done. We don't have to worry about it anymore. It's a final outcome. Scheduled, of course, is not a final outcome. We are waiting for something else. I might change the colors here as well, make this green and this one flagged a little red so that we know, hey, this is a no-show on the appointment. And let's go ahead and add this field, and we'll go ahead and drill in scheduled for these. We also need to point out that this default is set for scheduled. So when a new record comes into existence, it takes this property. All right, now, how are we going to work with this? Well, if somebody cancels an appointment, we want an automation that picks up that cancellation and marks this as canceled, right? So not too hard. So in order to set up this event, let's first go into Calendly and we're going to schedule an event for ourselves. I'll pick the 15th of November at 11:30 a.m. Let's go ahead and schedule. And let's see, what name should I use? I'll just say Gareth. I think I'm already in the system with this email address, which is good. And I'll say test notes and let's schedule this event. Now, Make is going to pick up this new scheduled event based on our prior automation, the one we covered in our last video for this series. And it's going to create this information in SmartSuite. So if we flip over, here it is. Let's take a look at our contacts. We have, oh, it's a new contact because I had not used that email address. So here's a new contact with an actual live email address. And of course, we have the appointment scheduled here. And we see that it absorbed that status of scheduled because we set that to be the default status. Now what we want is what happens if this person cancels or reschedules the appointment? Well, we need to have that reflected back here. Now let's flip into my email so that we can see how things are going on the event side of things. So over here, I'm already flipped to November 15th, which is the day that we scheduled that event. You can see the event right here, scheduled between Gareth, this is the user, and Gareth Pronovost. This was the person inside of Calendly, obviously me. And so I could actually join the event and do all the other things I need to do. But if I need to cancel or reschedule, those links are shared inside of the event. So let me go ahead and activate one of those and see what actually happens. If I hit cancel or reschedule here, I'm going to be prompted with, at least on the rescheduling side, it's going to ask me, when do you want to reschedule for? So I have to pick a new date, right? Here it is. Let's say I pick this date. And when I make this pick, I have to also say what my reason for the change is. So again, remember, Calendly is going to take two actions. It's going to cancel the prior event, and then it's going to schedule a new event. So I'm going to say something like no reason right here. Let's update the event. And what we're going to see, because we don't have the second automation built, is we're going to see that the back end of this works inside of SmartSuite, right? So we now have a new event created for November 22nd, but because we never set up the event to cancel this one still shows up as being scheduled because we just haven't recognized that particular thing. But the second portion of that, the creation of a new event, it happened right here. We already have that part working, and that's great. But now we have to make sure to tackle the other part of this equation. So let's get to work. We're going to flip on into Make now, and I'm going to go into creating a new scenario. And I'm going to set one up right here, and we are going to use Calendly once again for the trigger. So let's go ahead and find Calendly from a list here. There we go. I'll make the selection. We are going to build a watch events trigger again, but this time it's going to be a little different. So I've got a bunch of Calendly webhooks, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and add a new one here. And of course, sync it up to the proper Calendly account. That's very, very important. Use your Calendly account. And I'm going to flip this over to invitee canceled. Remember I told you Calendly only has two different events that it reports on. This is the one I want here. So I'm going to name this test hook and enter an organization. Well, let's pick it from the list. The organization will be my organization. You'll only see yours here, of course, if you've already integrated. And you can choose your user if you have multiple. And in my case, I only want to pester myself, no one else on my team. So let's go ahead and save this up. And now we have our new webhook in place. And I can go ahead and test it by running this module only. Now we have to first have something canceled, right? So let's do it. We're going to go back into our account now, and actually flip on over to the new event that we created on November 22nd. So here it is. That's the new event. I'm going to cancel this one again. Let's reschedule it. And I'm going to pick the same day this time. And when I reschedule it again for the 22nd, remember, Calendly is going to reject or cancel the first appointment and move it by creating a new one on a different time. So this will be new time. I'll update the event, and after having done so, we can flip back now into Make to see that it did find that there was a cancellation. Remember, that's what we were trying to do. We were looking for that canceled event, and look at all the information it gives us. It gives me the cancel URL. It gives me all of this information. What were we using, do you remember, as that unique identifier inside of our previous event? Well, let's go back and see if we can't find it inside of SmartSuite. You might recall that we used this UUID from Calendly. Now, I just rescheduled the appointment for November 22nd at 1 p.m. This one on the UUID, it ends in 3885F and then some change. All right, so where can I find that? 3885F. I flip back into Make now, and I can just do a little search. 3885, and there it is. The cancellation portion. So inside of my output from the canceled appointment, inside of here I've got cancellation, there's an event, this UUID right here, that's what we put inside of our SmartSuite as the unique identifier for that particular event. Thank goodness we did, because now we know which event was just canceled and we can update it. So let's get to work. This, remember, is inside of our output from our webhook that we received from Calendly. It's in the cancellation and it's called event. All right, so that piece right there is what we're going to use to search SmartSuite. So let's get to work. I'm looking for SmartSuite. There it is. I will make the selection here from the list. I am going to get a record. No, find a record. Get a record supposes that we already know the record ID in SmartSuite, which we do not. I am going to have to search for it because I don't have the record ID. I have that UUID. So I set up my SmartSuite connection and I connect here. I've called this Calendly example. Good enough. Let's find now the tables or applications. SmartSuite recently updated the name to tables. And so I'm looking in my appointments table, and inside of here, I'm going to search by my field. My field is that UUID from Calendly. The search value is what I had back here, and it was called event. And it came inside of my cancellation, and it was my cancellation event UUID. Where is it? All right, let's instead try to search by the number pattern again, since I can't find it easily. 3885. Sometimes this is easier. 3885. See, I get many fewer options now. I prefer that. I can't really see them, but here's event. I think that's the one. So I'm going to plug that in right here. And I want to limit what I find only to one. I only ever want to find one record inside of Calendly. So let's assume that that is correct. I think that that's the right one. In order to run this operation, I can go ahead and highlight this. And then in here, I'll right click and run the module, and I'll paste that event in right here. And then I will hit OK. Now it actually comes back with an error here. It's not able to find something with that particular search value. So maybe I made a mistake. I flip back into SmartSuite and I perform a Control F to see if I can find this little snip. And I can find it, but you actually see that the UUID that I included here from my prior automation had a lot more noise after it. So the actual URL that I'm using in my search is here, but this is like an expanded version of it, and I probably plugged in the wrong thing from earlier. So actually, let's go back to our prior automation and see if we can't kind of fix that component, right? Inside of the appointment that we're creating, what is this piece that we're using here? When we are actually creating the appointment and bringing in that, here it is, it's URI. And I wonder if we have something more like event. I wonder if it's actually this scheduled event that we want instead of the URI that we plugged in. So this one seems to have a little bit more of that information that maybe was actually hurting us a little bit when we were performing our search. So let's plug in event. Oops, I only needed it in there one time. Go back in and fix that. I'll bring in event instead. Here it is, one time. And once that comes in, I will hit OK. So that's probably the consideration there that was breaking things. So what I'm going to do is just imagine that we had it properly in here in the first place. Let's go ahead and drop that. So I'll just eliminate that second portion, and we'll perform that search again from inside of our automation. So here we go. We're going to run the module again, paste that in there. We're going to hit OK. Still erroring out. What is happening now? Let's drill in and take a look once again. What is happening? Oh, I've got these quotes in here. I was trying to troubleshoot an error from earlier. Let's get rid of the quotes. Try it one more time. Run this module without quotes. Hit OK. Finally, we get that green checkbox. All right. Sometimes this is the pain of building inside of Make. It's not always as intuitive as you might think. That's okay. We take it a step at a time and we find our way. So now I've found the appointment record inside of SmartSuite. What I have to do now is update that status. That should not be too hard. So let's go into SmartSuite. I'm going to update a record. I have to pick my solution again, which we called Calendly example. Let's find it here. And I'm going to update my appointments. Let's find that. And let's get in here. The record ID or title. How would I know it? Well, I have to say map. Map is saying, I already know this from something earlier in my automation. So once I click map on, now I see all of this, and I can access that record ID from the SmartSuite record that we found in the previous module. Status for appointment, I need to update, and I need to update it to canceled. So that, this is pretty simple. Somebody cancels an event in Calendly, we find it based on that unique identifier, and then we update it and move the status to canceled. That's all we're doing, pretty straightforward. Let's save the automation, let's turn it on, and let's give it a test. Now, before we do, I need to first remove the excess here on this particular UID, right? This UUID that we were using still had that extra noise on that URL. So let's go ahead and remove it so that our update will work. Let's go ahead and update here. So I'm going to go to my calendar now. I'm going to find this event. This was rescheduled for the 22nd of November at 1:30. This is the one I want to reschedule or just cancel, but I'll reschedule. And I will reschedule again for the 22nd. Let's go ahead and open this up. Here we go. Flip into November. Again, on the 22nd, I'll reschedule for the same day, this time at 12 p.m. And no reason. We'll just say update event. What is going to happen back here? Well, if we did everything properly, this automation will start running. We see that it actually just performed. Great. What did it do? Flipping into the history, we see it triggered on a cancellation. Here's the information here. Then it found a record successfully inside of our SmartSuite appointments. There it is. And then it updated that status. If we flip into SmartSuite, here is what we see. We have the canceled status now for this appointment. So this was the appointment that we rescheduled at 1:30 on the 22nd. And we see that, let's see, I just lost the place, but we see that the status was updated to canceled. So this could then be removed from views, etc. Now, one last consideration is that we still see this information, this extra information coming in on that UUID from Calendly. So if we flip back to our other particular automation, I don't know that we saved our changes here. And I don't think we added them to both levels. So let's make sure that on both appointments, whether we have somebody or we don't, we have to make the change here. I don't want this URI, which is what we plugged in last time. I'm going to grab the event, which hopefully, fingers crossed, is good enough. But we see that it starts off the same. It starts off right with api.calendly.com/scheduled_events, and then it gets to that unique ID, and that's what I care about. So back inside of Make, now that I've updated both of these, let's click OK. I want to confirm that I did it down here. Let's make sure. Scroll down here, verify. Okay, great. Trust but verify. We're good on both of those. I'm going to save this up. And now one final time, I'm going to go into my event here. Now remember, we just canceled one and scheduled another, so I'm going to use it again. This one now being at 12 o'clock. I'm going to reschedule. Let's go ahead and test this whole process now from start to finish to make sure that everything is working appropriately. I'm going to drop in on November 15th. I'm going to schedule a new appointment now, and I'll of course use my actual name and email address and schedule the event. Now, if I flip into Calendly and I go over to November 15th, I will see that event now created inside of here for 11:30, just as we would expect. If I go into SmartSuite, most importantly, I will see that event tracking here. So the contact exists and the new event scheduled for November 15th at 11 a.m. is showing up with the appropriate UUID here. None of the extra noise. We were able to shave all of that off. So I can close this field down. I don't ever need to look at this field. We're only using it as a key. Now that our automations are all built, they need to have something to use to talk to each other, right? So that they know the same appointment is from one automation to the next. That is the key that we have established. So now when we go back over here, if I want to update this event and reschedule it or just cancel it, well, in either case, I'm going to be taken to another screen inside of Calendly. It's going to give me a choice if I want to reschedule to do so. Let's say I rescheduled it for a half hour later. Boom, update the event. What do I expect to see back here in SmartSuite? A new event get created, but also my previous event canceled. And that's exactly what you just saw happen thanks to our automations in Make. I know we went super fast in this video. There is a lot to cover on this topic, as I'm sure you can see here. But I hope you got a ton of value from it. And if we did not get to your question, please be sure to drop it below and I will do my best to answer. I hope you got a ton of value from this. In the meantime, friends, keep on building.